Alright, I wanted to share this finally. I've been having problems with my camera. Might cut off here, but I want to share this project that I did. I started this 2 years ago, and the original version looked like this. What this was a hardwired version, or a hardwired robot, mostly hardwired for behavior. I left a couple things random. It uses beam electronics, if you're familiar with that. It's basically like using digital circuits to perform analog functions. Basically, it's just a bunch of oscillators that are linked together. It works really well for robots with legs, simple robots with legs, but for this kind of thing, it was not really ideal. Once the design was set, I was pretty much stuck with that, and I couldn't really fix it like you could with a microcontroller. You can go back and reprogram everything. So individually, everything worked fantastic. I had a circuit that detected if there were too many, if this thing was hitting things with its sensors. It was supposed to have antennas on it. If it hit too many, like if it was stuck in a corner and it kept toggling back and forth between the two, it would detect that, and then this would trigger a reverse and turn around function. The sound would detect, if it detected a loud noise, it would trigger a set of behaviors, but it was way too chaotic and it was just way too difficult to debug. I wanted to be able to reconfigure it. So I gave up on this for a few years. And then I went ahead and redesigned the whole thing using a micro, and completely 100% different circuit. And this one still has its issues. Oh, see, there's my battery again on my phone, on my camera. See these other. Still has its issues. I'm going to do a third version of it, which is probably going to be the last. But it will fix a whole bunch of things that I want on this. But to be very quick about this, because my phone is telling me, or my camera is telling me it's going to die. In fact, I should use my phone, shouldn't I? Let's see. We got those SPI LEDs. There's 6. There's 2 on the or 2 on the top, and 1 here, and 3 here in the back. We got capacitive touch sensors, which are here. They're way too sensitive. I need to fix that. It's got antenna feelers that are linked to the infrared detectors, which are, the detectors are on the bottom. It's a 38 kHz modulated signal. They work really, really good. It's got edge detectors, which I'm redoing. I found a really good circuit, which is actually taken from my old design. It's an LM567 tone decoder. So I can set the frequency. It's set to 11 kHz or 10 kHz, and it can detect an object at about 7 inches, 6-7 inches, and they work really well. And those are going to be my new edge detectors on here. And, you see I have everything labeled. This is the edge detector. These are the light sensors, which I'm also redoing. I'm just going to go ahead and put CDS cells in there because their dark light response is so much better for indoor. I've tried both, and I don't like the photodiode setup very much at all. Basically, when you sit in this thing inside the room and you want it to do follow the light level detected or coming out of the op amp is just so low. It really only works if there's some good sunlight coming in, and I don't like that. I like having I want this thing to be able to respond to a huge range of light, like whether it's dark, pitch black, or total sunlight, or anywhere in between. So I'm going to take that off and redo it. It's got an accelerometer right here, and just an op amp buffer going to the micro. And it's got 2 motor drivers. Each motor driver can do 2 motors at once. I have them paralleled for current. And then right here is a 5-volt step-up supply. And there's also a 3-volt regulator, which I'm going to get rid of. This accelerometer can run off 5 volts as well. So, and then on the bottom we have the battery, which is a 18650 lithium ion. So that's boosted up to 5. And the future revision is going to do, this basically powers the entire circuit, motors, everything. In the future version, this is going to be 9 volts output. It's just going to power the motors because I need a bigger range on the motors. And then there's going to be a regular regulator for the rest of the circuit. There's also rear antennas, like feelers like these. And there's also rear IR object sensors. There's also rear ambient light sensors, and then there's a little speaker for sound, which sounds like this. Okay. Let's see. We got the PIC on here is a microchip part. It's a PIC 1526, and a 20 megahertz oscillator. I really wanted to go with that 18F or a 24F, but I couldn't find one that had all the exact things that I wanted. This thing has, only thing this doesn't have that I really wish would have been more interrupt on change pins. It's got 7, I think, but 2 of them are on the pins for the programming. I like using dedicated pins. I don't like having to share this with other things. So I only have 4 or 5 available, and the problem is I got the sensors in the front on them, and then I got the edge detectors on them, and I got the back edge detectors on them, and then I didn't have any left over for the back. So the new version is going to combine. These are actually combined with the infrared, so that's taken care of there. It's basically the same thing if I hit this or if something's in the way. But I want to combine this and these and the front edge detectors, and then I want to combine the back feelers, back IR, and back edge detectors on a pin. So I only need 4 pins total for that, and then I'll have 1 or 2 pins left over, and I'm adding an interrupt for the accelerometer using a comparator that's going to combine all the channel outputs. So I can have this thing react to bumps or tilts for like if there's an incline or something, I can have it just give up and go back if it's too high. So that will trigger an interrupt. And also the audio works pretty good. I put the mic on backwards originally. But the thing is, I was wanting to be able to sample sound and then output sound. But what I might do is create another interrupt for this as well. So this can trigger on like high or loud sounds, and then it can do a sample or whatever. And I might use a resistive ladder on the output. See, currently right here I got these little LEDs, and the LEDs are I just use them as like debugging. They're all red LEDs here, and I got some greens on this one. But I might sacrifice all those and use a resistive ladder output, and then put a real audio amp on here and a real speaker, a little tiny speaker. I'll be able to do like higher quality sound than I can. This thing just does little beeps and stuff, and I'm kind of bored with it. I might just feeling like I might just leave it out to begin with. It's just a gimmick really at this point. And I'm also going to shrink the power supply down. It's way overkill. This inductor is just, I think it's overkill because it's only going to be powering the motors. They really don't draw much. And the thing is, if I turn this on and I hold the motors, I can keep it from moving at all. And that's because these motors can go up to like 6 volts or something max, or 12 or something like that, and I'm only powering them at 5, but I'm PWMing them so they're not even getting the full thing. And I'd rather have a higher range of that. Like if I go below 50% on the PWM, they don't even move. And so what I'm doing is I'm getting these are 600 RPMs at 6 volts, but I got some 1000 RPMs coming at 3 volts. They can handle 5 max. So in the future I'll probably use these same ones at 9 volts, and we'll get a much bigger range. This thing will be approximately twice as fast, 3 times as fast. I'd really like it to be really fast. And ideally I'd really like to use a faster processor, but I use these, well, one, it had all the stuff I want, but I just happen to have them already in my junk bin. I had 10 of them for a project I designed a few years ago and never made. But this whole thing was just a learning thing for me, just so I could learn to program better. One thing I've been putting off for a very long time is learning C, and so far I have learned a ton just from this thing. But it's also a 4-layer board, and it was very expensive. And there are some issues with soldering. I mean, it's got the 2 inner layers are power only. So I got a complete ground plane inside and a power plane, and I also have a flood on top, which is also ground, and a flood on the bottom, which is ground. So there's basically 3 layers of ground on this thing, and I did that for noise immunity and everything, but it makes it just fucking impossible to solder some things. Like soldering this chip on here with the hot air is just fucking ridiculous. It doesn't actually work. I can't do it. But luckily I can use my regular iron on it, because you can see as the pads stick out a little bit. It's not a big deal. It doesn't have a ground pad on the chip. It does actually, but I don't solder it down. It's just it's optional, which is what the data sheet said. So I'm going to convert this to a 2-layer. I'm going to add jumpers and stuff so that I can disable any part of the circuit, disconnect it from power if I want. I have a whole bunch of things I want to do. Lower the sensitivity of these touch sensors, capacitive touch sensors here. I'm going to convert. I've converted all this stuff to surface mount. Originally, I thought I might need all this extra coverage of IR emitting here, but I totally don't. This thing is just ultra fucking sensitive. In fact, these LEDs are only putting out like half a milliamp of. They're only drawing half a milliamp. They're just so low power. But this thing can detect objects from about this far away, depending on the color. So about a foot almost. 10 inches a foot. So all it really needs is those few changes, and it will be. I'm going to call it done. The hardware will be done. The software is going to be probably years and years and years, because I'm still learning. And before this battery runs out, I'm going to let it run just a little bit here. See it real quick. This is just a program I wrote so I can test various things. All it does is roam around. There's so many things that I haven't implemented yet. It just roams around, looks for shit. It doesn't go towards the light or anything yet. I'm mostly eliminating bugs and adjusting the motor control and all that stuff. Just testing out things, lights, etc. I plan to have a lot more interesting stuff going on once I learn a little more. And I'm not really sure why the hell that happens. Well, okay. That's. I want to have some randomness going on. I want to have some mood stuff. Light detect, light avoidance and light seeking behaviors, depending on what's going on. I want to have some moods eventually. This is going to take me years probably at this point. And I'm just going to run this until the battery dies. My camera battery dies, not the robot. Although, okay. Does strange things sometimes. Still don't know what's going on, but I'm working out some bugs. This routine that it's running is basically just for me to debug crap. I need to figure out how to get everything kind of fine-tuned. This right here is something that really annoys me. Once it has all the sensors going and the new rev, it should be a lot easier. There's like a lot of code that I haven't implemented for the accelerometer is not doing anything. I removed the light seeking behavior. Capacitive touch isn't doing anything either. Like I said, it's way too sensitive and sometimes they latch up. And I like the speed to just be like cockroach speed, where this thing could just haul ass away from you if it wants to.